We're talking receipts. Blake Lively released her amended lawsuit against Justin Baldoni yesterday. I've already made 2 videos going through the lawsuit. You can go back and check those. We are currently talking about Jed Wallace, who is now also suing Blake Lively. But Jed Wallace apparently weaponized a digital army to go after her online. Here's how it starts. In the weeks and months that followed, with the direction and approval of Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni, the team engaged in a sophisticated, coordinated, and well-financed retaliation plan. The retaliation campaign relied on more than just publicists and crisis managers spinning stories. They also retained a Texas-based contractor, Jed Wallace, who weaponized a digital army around the country from New York to LA and beyond to create, seed, promote, and engage with content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums. The Baldoni Wayfair team would then feed pieces of this manufactured content to unwitting reporters, helping to make content go viral in order to influence public opinion and thereby cause an organic pile-on. To safeguard against the risk of Miss Lively ever revealing the truth about Mr. Baldoni, the Baldoni Wayfair team created, planted, amplified, and boosted content designed to eviscerate Miss Lively's credibility. They engaged in the same techniques to bolster Mr. Baldoni's credibility and suppress any negative content about him. On August 10th, the very next day after the film's release, there is a text message from Miss Nathan's team saying they are starting to see a shift on social due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative against Miss Lively. Later in that same text exchange, Melissa Nathan and Jennifer Abel are going back and forth, and Melissa Nathan says this: "Socials are really ramping up in his favor. She must be furious. It's actually sad because it just shows you how people really want to hate on women." And Jennifer responds saying, "I know, it is sad, but then don't be a C-U-N-T. She effed herself by doing the unfollowing thing and insisting no photos together." The next part says, defendants have admitted that on August 12th, 2024, in the midst of a massive sentiment shift on social media that was engulfing Miss Lively and others with a flood of negative comments, Wayfair was asked to issue a statement to help correct the situation by accepting accountability for the production it oversaw. But rather than doing so, Miss Nathan, the PR crisis person, advised that issuing a statement would be a career killer for Mr. Baldoni, who she urged to lawyer up and fight. Less than 1 week later, they again bragged about how they shut down the other stories regarding the HR complaint on set. On August 15th, 2024, Miss Nathan says, "This went so well, it was genius. So okay, we have the 4 majors standing down on the HR complaint." Blake's team goes on to say, as their own words reveal, the purpose of this social manipulation plan was twofold. 1, it aimed to both conceal the pattern of harassment and other misconduct by Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and Wayfair, and 2, to retaliate against Miss Lively by battering her image, harming her businesses, and causing her and her family severe emotional harm. Millions of people, including many reporters and influencers, who saw these planted stories, social media posts, and other online content had no idea they were unwitting consumers of a crisis PR, astroturfing, and digital retaliation campaign created and funded by Mr. Baldoni and Wayfair to hurt Miss Lively. This is precisely the goal of an astroturfing campaign: to light the fire and continue to stoke conversations secretly, blurring the line between authentic and manufactured content and creating viral public takedowns. In just days, the retaliation campaign had resulted in the viral spread of hateful, threatening, and derogatory content directed at Miss Lively, her family, and other female cast members, as well as harassment and cyberbullying of the same. Online hate and vitriol found its way onto the social media accounts of much of the cast of the film, Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, and numerous businesses associated with them. By August 14th, 2024, a female cast member texted Miss Lively expressing feeling concerned and helpless about the online narrative. A different female cast member wrote to Miss Lively on August 14th to ask whether she knew if Sony could help her address the cyberbullying that she was experiencing, which was getting nastier and more difficult to cope with by the day. Many individuals and businesses other than Miss Lively herself began to experience vitriol, harassment, and cyberbullying around this time, demonstrating the obvious falsities of defendants' self-serving insistence since Miss Lively's first complaint in this action, that they engaged in no proactive measures, and that this viral spread of online hatred was entirely the result of Miss Lively's own remarks and actions during the campaign for the film. Now, they go on to say that these facts are actually not in dispute. Mr. Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties have already admitted that Miss Lively raised concerns multiple times. They admitted that they created a plan in case she made her grievances public, in which they planned to plant stories suggesting Miss Lively was a bully and weaponizing feminism. They admitted that their team was able to bury anyone. They admitted that they bragged and laughed at how negatively the narrative had shifted against Miss Lively and how successful they were at confusing people. They admitted that within hours of laying out their plan, they started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's efforts to shift the narrative. And they did all this despite the knowledge that Miss Lively genuinely believes she's right and that all of this is unjust. That is actually a direct quote from a text message I'm going to share with you. So she's put another text message in. This is Justin Baldoni saying, "Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just know her personality, and this is the kind of person that genuinely believes she's right and that all of this is unjust." And the person responds, "She fully does, and I know it." And he says, "So those people seek justice at any cost. That's why I just have a hard time believing she's done, but trusting you and grateful for you." And they respond, "She looks abominable if she does anything against you, and she knows it." Now, despite them admitting to all of this, they claim their plan was never implemented, and somehow the universe simply organically provided them with the exact result that they had actually planned for, at the exact time they wanted it, using the exact narratives that they developed and recorded. The problem for defendants is that they put their plan for an untraceable campaign in writing, and the evidence shows them commenting on the success of their plan as it unfolded. In Blake Lively's opening complaint, she wrote and said that she is informed and believes that Mr. Baldoni and his associates have additional astroturfing plans that they have prepared and are ready to launch at a moment's notice. And they go on to say that this is precisely what occurred starting the moment that Ms. Lively sent a cease and desist letter to the defendants on December 20th, 2024, including with it a copy of her administrative complaint filed with the California Civil Rights Department. Upon receiving the cease and desist letter, defendants leaked the administrative complaint to certain hand-selected publications to get ahead of it, gave numerous statements to the press, including blatantly false and defamatory factual allegations, and began a near-daily media and social media blitz aimed at discrediting Miss Lively, Miss Lively's longtime publicist, Mr. Reynolds, Disney, and the New York Times, and more. As I've said before, the New York Times were not the first to publish Blake's complaint. It was actually leaked by Justin Baldoni's lawyer because he wanted to get ahead of the narrative. Everyone who quoted her complaint was not quoting the New York Times. They were actually quoting TMZ. Blake's team goes on to say that they believe that all defendants involved in this case have actively participated in this enhanced retaliation campaign. They claim that they have threatened numerous lawsuits to sue Miss Lively and others into oblivion, and proceeded to file 4 lawsuits in 3 jurisdictions with fantastical damages of hundreds of millions of dollars in each. And they also believe that the defendant's counsel has threatened both fact witnesses, neutral commentators, and publications with lawsuits for doing nothing more than speaking out or publicly reporting unfavorable information about the defendants. So to sum it up, they're saying that Mr. Baldoni refused to take accountability for his own actions when asked. He went against his own advice, which was to shut up and finally listen to the women in his life. And he did not have the courage to hold their anguish and actually believe them, even if what they're saying is against you. Instead, he called upon Mr. Sarowitz to fund a legal, press, and astroturfing campaign to ensure that Miss Lively would be forced to risk everything to come forward. All right, we're going to get into some more receipts in the next video because we're running out of time on this one. Make sure you hit follow and come back for the next.